The Barrett M107A1 felt like an extension of her body. Gunnery Sergeant Kira Sullivan lay prone on the rooftop, her breathing slow and controlled. The concrete was still warm from the Yemen sun, even though it was 3:15 in the morning. Below her, the streets of Sana'a twisted like a labyrinth of shadows and dust. 1,200 yards out, the compound waited, walls topped with razor wire, guards with AK-47s slung across their shoulders. And somewhere inside, a CIA asset who had maybe 6 hours left to live if her team didn't get him out. Kira's right eye found the scope. The world narrowed to a circle of magnified vision. She could see the first guard now, pacing the northwest tower. Young, maybe 22, probably didn't even know why he was guarding this particular building on this particular night. Tango 1, Northwest Tower, her spotter whispered. Navy SEAL Rodriguez, lying 2 feet to her left. Tango 2, East Corner. Tango 3, Main Gate. Copy, Kira breathed. Her finger rested beside the trigger guard. Not on it, never on it until the moment came. That was one of the first lessons her father had taught her. The wind shifted. She felt it on her neck, calculated the adjustment in her head. The Barrett was chambered in .50 caliber, which meant the bullet would drift in a crosswind like a sailboat. 15 miles per hour from 3 o'clock. She clicked the windage knob twice to the right. Wind is the bullet's enemy, Kira. Learn to read it like Braille. Her father's voice. 6 years dead, and still the loudest sound in her head. Master Chief Garrett Sullivan, they'd called him Reaper. SEAL Team 3, 3 deployments to Fallujah, 2 Silver Stars, 1 daughter who could shoot better than half his platoon by the time she was 16. Syria had taken him in 2019. At least that's what the folded flag and the 21-gun salute had told her. Wraith 2 in position, Lieutenant Hayes' voice crackled in her ear. That was the ground team, 3 operators moving through the compound's blind spot, using the drainage ditch Kira had identified in the satellite imagery 48 hours ago. Tango 1 has a cigarette, Rodriguez murmured. Light her out. He's distracted. Kira's heartbeat slowed. 60 beats per minute. 55. The scope's reticle settled on the first guard's center mass. She could see the cherry-red glow of his cigarette, the way he turned his head to exhale smoke into the night air. She squeezed between heartbeats. The Barrett roared. The suppressor reduced the sound from a thunderclap to something more like a heavy door slamming, but nothing could fully silence a .50 caliber rifle. Recoil drove into her shoulder, familiar as a handshake. She rode it, kept her eye on the scope. Downrange, the first guard dropped before the report reached the compound. Kira was already tracking to the second target. The guard on the east corner was turning, some instinct telling him something was wrong. His hand moved toward his radio. Too slow. Kira squeezed again. The second guard fell, folding like a marionette with cut strings. The third guard was bringing his weapon up, mouth opening to shout. Kira's third round caught him in the throat. He went down without making a sound, just a wet gurgle that nobody would hear. Clear, she said. Moving, Hayes confirmed. Through her scope, Kira watched 3 shadows flow over the compound wall. They moved like water, like smoke. Team 7 had trained for this. Every movement choreographed, every contingency mapped. Women who didn't officially exist, completing missions that never officially happened. 4 minutes later, Hayes' voice came back. Package secure. Extraction, point Alpha. Kira was already packing her rifle. She and Rodriguez moved across the rooftops like ghosts, reaching the extraction zone as the MH-60 Blackhawk descended. The noise was incredible, rotor wash kicking up dust and debris that stung her eyes even through her goggles. Hayes hauled the CIA asset into the helicopter. The man was thin, his face bloodied, his hands zip-tied in front of him. He was crying, speaking rapid Arabic that Kira couldn't follow. Hayes handed him water, checked his injuries with the calm efficiency of a man who'd done this 100 times before. They flew in silence for 20 minutes before crossing into friendly airspace. That's when Commander Graves' voice came over the comm. Cold. Clipped. the voice of a man who'd spent 30 years making problems disappear. Lieutenant Hayes, Gunnery Sergeant Sullivan, upon landing you will submit to debriefing. This operation never occurred. You were never in Yemen. The asset will be processed through alternative channels. Is that understood? Kira and Hayes exchanged glances. They'd heard this before. Every mission, the same script. The world would never know they'd been here. The asset would vanish into some CIA black site. The operation would exist only in classified files that maybe 10 people in the entire Defense Department had clearance to read. Understood, sir, Hayes said. The helicopter touched down at the Coalition Air Base just as the sun began to crack the horizon. They were separated immediately. Standard protocol, individual debriefings, individual NDAs, individual compartmentalization. Kira spent 6 hours in a windowless room, repeating the same statement to 3 different officers. I was not in Yemen. I conducted no operations on foreign soil. She signed 14 pages of non-disclosure agreements, each one carrying a penalty of 20 years in a federal prison if she ever breathed a word about what had happened. By the time they released her, her hands were cramping from holding the pen. But as she'd signed the last page, she'd noticed something. A classified folder on the table, partially visible beneath other documents. The header had read, Eyes Only, Wraith 7 Sunset Protocol. The officer had snatched it away quickly, too quickly. Kira had filed it away in her mind. Sunset Protocol. That wasn't operational language. That was termination language. 2 days later, she was back in San Diego. The California sun felt wrong after Yemen. Too bright, too clean, too safe. She'd spent the morning running drills with the junior enlisted, teaching proper sight picture and trigger control to Marines who looked at her like she was some kind of science experiment. A woman, a gunnery sergeant, in the infantry. She didn't care what they thought. Her father had taught her that respect was earned with performance, not demanded with rank. The armory smelled like gun oil and cosmoline, familiar and comforting. She was breaking down her M4, inspecting each component, when the master-at-arms appeared in the doorway. Gunnery Sergeant Sullivan. She looked up. The MA's face was expressionless, which meant trouble. In her experience, military cops only had 2 expressions, bored or hunting. This one was hunting. Yes? You're to report to Building 7 immediately. Colonel Blackwood is waiting. Something cold settled in Kira's stomach. Building 7 was NCIS headquarters, Naval Criminal Investigative Service. You didn't get called there for a routine chat. You got called there because someone thought you'd committed a crime. She reassembled her rifle in 30 seconds, secured it in the arms room, and followed the MA across the base. The San Diego sun was brutal. Heat shimmered off the asphalt. Young sailors in working uniforms hurried past, their faces showing that peculiar mixture of boredom and anxiety that defined military life. Kira had worn that same expression once, back when she was young enough to think that following orders meant something simple. Building 7 was a squat concrete structure that looked like it had been built during the Cold War and never updated. Inside, the air conditioning was aggressive, making the sweat on Kira's neck turn clammy. Colonel Marcus Blackwood waited in interview room 3. Kira knew him by reputation. Former SEAL Team 3, multiple deployments to Iraq, including the Second Battle of Fallujah in 2004. The scar across his jaw was legendary, shrapnel from an IED that killed 2 of his teammates. He'd stayed in the fight for another 6 hours before accepting medical evacuation. Now he ran security operations for the entire Naval Base San Diego. 2 master-at-arms flanked him. One was Senior Chief Diane Kowalski, a woman Kira recognized from force protection drills. The other was younger, powerfully built, his hand resting casually near his sidearm. Gunnery Sergeant Sullivan, Blackwood said. His voice was gravel and ice. Sit down. Kira sat. The chair was metal, uncomfortable, probably intentional. "Do you know why you're here?" Blackwood asked. "No, sir." He slid a photograph across the table. It showed a USB drive, small and black, sitting in an evidence bag with a yellow tag. "This was found in your personal locker during a random security sweep this morning," Blackwood said. Kira stared at it. The USB drive looked generic. Could have been purchased at any electronics store in America. "I've never seen that before," she said. "Really?" Blackwood's tone suggested he'd heard that line 1,000 times. "Because when we examined it, we found classified information. Top secret SCI. Details about a black operation in Yemen. Operator names, asset identity, mission parameters." The cold in Kira's stomach turned to ice. "Sir, I don't know how that got into my locker, but—" "Save it." Blackwood leaned back in his chair. "We have forensic evidence that this drive was accessed from a computer terminal you logged into. Your fingerprints are on the casing, and you just happened to return from Yemen 48 hours ago. That mission was—" Kira caught herself. "What?" Blackwood's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Classified? Never happened? Convenient. Except someone leaked that information. Someone who knew every detail. Someone who was there." Kira's mind raced. This was wrong. All of it. She hadn't touched that USB drive. She'd never even seen it before. Someone had planted it. Someone who wanted her arrested, discredited, or dead. Someone who knew about Sunset Protocol. "Sir," she said carefully, "I'm being set up." "That's what they all say." Blackwood nodded to Senior Chief Kowalski. "Search her." Kira stood slowly. Her hands stayed visible, away from her body. Sudden movements around armed military police were a good way to get shot. "Sir," she said, keeping her voice level, "I'm a commissioned officer. A search of this nature requires JAG approval and—" "You're accused of espionage, Gunnery Sergeant." Blackwood's voice cut like a blade. "That supersedes your rank. That supersedes everything. Now you can cooperate, or we can do this the hard way. Your choice." Kowalski stepped forward. Her face showed nothing. No sympathy, no judgment. Just the blank professionalism of a cop doing an unpleasant job. "Face the wall," Kowalski said. "Hands on the table." Kira complied. She'd been through searches before, during training, during deployments, during random security drills. But this felt different. This felt designed to break her down, to strip away the layers of rank and respect and leave her exposed. Kowalski patted her down professionally, checked pockets, seams, waistband. Found nothing except a wallet, car keys, and a folding knife that Kira carried everywhere. "She's clean, sir," Kowalski reported. Blackwood stood. He walked around the table, studying Kira like she was a specimen under glass. His eyes were cold, calculating. The eyes of a man who'd seen too much combat to ever fully trust anyone again. "You know what I think, Sullivan?" he said. "I think you're smart. Real smart. Smart enough to know that when you got caught, you'd need to play innocent. Act confused. Deny everything." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "But here's what I can't figure out," he continued. "Why? What did they pay you? What's the going rate for betraying your country these days?" Kira turned to face him. She kept her voice steady, even though rage was building in her chest like a pressure cooker. "Sir, with all due respect, you're wrong. I didn't leak anything. I'm loyal to—" "Got the balls to strip a SEAL?" Blackwood's words hung in the air like a slap. Kira blinked. "Sir, that's what this is about, isn't it?" His voice dripped contempt. "You wanted to play with the big boys, be a SEAL, but you couldn't hack it, so you bought some credentials, faked your way in, and when you realized you were in over your head, you sold out." The accusation was so absurd that Kira almost laughed. Almost. But there was nothing funny about the way Blackwood was looking at her, like she was something rotten, something that needed to be scraped off his boot. "Sir," she said quietly, "I never claimed to be—" "Strip." The word landed like a grenade. Silence filled the room. "Excuse me?" Kira said. You heard me. Full search. Everything off. We're going to find whatever you're hiding. Kira's jaw tightened. She looked at Blackwood, really looked at him. Past the anger, past the contempt. She saw something else there. Something that looked almost like testing. She made a decision. Yes, sir. Her hands moved to her uniform shirt. She unbuttoned it slowly, methodically. Each button a small act of defiance wrapped in compliance. She let the shirt fall to the floor. The sports bra underneath was regulation Navy issue, gray and functional. Kowalski stepped forward with a handheld metal detector, swept it over Kira's torso. The device remained silent. No hidden weapons, no concealed electronics. Kira kicked off her boots, unbuckled her belt, let her cargo pants drop. She stood there in her sports bra and compression shorts, feeling the air conditioning raise goosebumps on her skin. 5'4", 130 pounds of muscle and scar tissue. She'd broken her collarbone at 16 during a training accident with her father, fractured her ankle at 19 during airborne school. There were other marks too, small burns on her forearms from hot brass, calluses on her hands from 1,000 hours on the range, a surgical scar on her right knee from a parachute landing gone wrong. And there, on her left rib cage, was the tattoo. Kowalski saw it first. She froze, the metal detector hovering in midair. Sir, she said quietly. Blackwood looked. His expression changed. The tattoo was intricate, professional. A golden trident piercing an anchor, flanked by an eagle and a flintlock pistol. The SEAL trident, the most iconic symbol in naval special warfare. But that wasn't what made them stare. Below the trident, in small Roman numerals, was the number 7. And beneath that, a single word in elegant script. Wraith. Blackwood stepped closer. He studied the tattoo like it was written in a language he couldn't quite read. Where, he said slowly, did you get that? Kira met his eyes. My father gave it to me. Your father? Master Chief Garrett Sullivan, her voice was steady. They called him Reaper, SEAL Team 3. Served with you in Fallujah, sir. I believe you knew him. Blackwood's face went very still. The kind of still that comes before an explosion or a collapse. Kira couldn't tell which. Reaper Sullivan is dead, he said. Killed in Syria, 2019. Yes, sir. And he gave you that? Blackwood gestured at the tattoo. Not directly. He left instructions for the artist, a design. He wanted me to have it after he was gone. Why? Kira took a breath. This was the moment, the point of no return. Everything her father had taught her, everything she'd built over 10 years of service, came down to this. Because he founded SEAL Team 7, sir, the Wraith Protocol, and he trained me to be part of it. The room erupted. The younger master-at-arms actually took a step back, his hand moving toward his sidearm. Kowalski's mouth opened, closed again. Blackwood's face flushed red. That's impossible, he said. There is no SEAL Team 7. Women can't officially... There's no SEAL Team 7, Kira interrupted. Just like officially, I was never in Yemen. Just like officially, a lot of things don't exist. She paused, letting that sink in. But unofficially, sir, Team 7 has been operational since 2015. 8 female operators, all trained by my father, all conducting missions that are too sensitive, too politically dangerous, or too culturally specific for traditional SEAL teams. Blackwood stared at her. You expect me to believe? I don't expect anything, sir. Kira gestured at her tattoo. That's real. Earned. My father spent 12 years training me for this. From the time I was 8 years old, he taught me everything he knew. Marksmanship, close quarters battle, demolitions, SERE training, all of it. Anyone can claim training, Blackwood said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. Yes, sir, Kira held his gaze. Anyone can claim it, but not everyone can prove it. Silence stretched between them. Kira could hear the air conditioning humming, could hear Kowalski's breathing, could feel her own heartbeat, steady and strong, the way it always got before a mission. Finally, Kowalski spoke. "Sir," she said carefully, "I think we should verify this." Blackwood's jaw worked. He was struggling with something, some internal calculation that Kira couldn't see but could feel shifting the balance in the room. "Fine," he said at last. "Get dressed, gunnery sergeant. We're going to the range." The shooting range was empty. Blackwood had cleared it, waving off the range safety officer and the handful of sailors who'd been qualifying on their M16s. Now it was just the four of them: Blackwood, Kowalski, the young MA, and Kira. The afternoon sun beat down on the concrete firing line. Heat shimmered in the distance, making the targets waver like mirages. Kira stood at the 1,000-yard line. In front of her, on the shooting bench, sat a Barrett M107A1. The big rifle gleamed in the sunlight, 50 caliber of precision engineering that could punch through an engine block at a mile. "Load," Blackwood said. Kira picked up the magazine. 10 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition, each one longer than her hand. She seated the magazine with a solid click, pulled the charging handle, let it slam home. The sound was mechanical, final. "Target is at 1,000 yards, Blackwood said. "Wind is 15 miles per hour, 3 o'clock. You get one shot." Kira looked downrange. The target was barely visible, a small, dark square against the hillside. Standard procedure would be to walk rounds onto target, starting close and adjusting. But Blackwood hadn't said anything about standard procedure. He wanted to see if she could do what she claimed. She settled behind the rifle, adjusted the stock to her shoulder. The Barrett was heavy, but the weight felt good, felt right, like shaking hands with an old friend. Her right eye found the scope. The world narrowed to a circle of magnified vision. She could see the target now, dancing slightly in the heat shimmer. A black circle on white paper, marked with concentric rings. Wind from the right, 15 miles per hour. She clicked the windage adjustment knob. 2 clicks right. The bullet would drift left otherwise, pulled by the crosswind that she could feel on her neck. "You're not aiming at where the target is, Kira. You're aiming at where the bullet will be when time and space intersect." Her father's voice. Not a memory now, a presence. Like he was lying beside her on the rooftop in Yemen, calling targets, checking wind, being the steady hand that every sniper needed. Her breathing slowed. This was where she lived. This was home. The space between heartbeats, the moment before the shot. When everything became simple and clear, and the only thing that mattered was the reticle and the target and the trigger. She squeezed. The Barrett roared. The recoil drove into her shoulder like a freight train, but she rode it, kept her eye on the scope. Downrange, a spotting scope on a tripod showed the result. Blackwood looked through it. He straightened slowly. "Bullseye," he said. His voice was flat, controlled. "Dead center." Kira cycled the bolt, ejecting the spent casing. It hit the concrete with a brass ring that echoed across the empty range. "Move the target to 1,400 yards, she said. Blackwood looked at her. "That's beyond effective range for most shooters." "I'm not most shooters, sir." Something changed in Blackwood's expression. Not quite respect, not yet, but recognition. He'd seen this before. The absolute certainty of a true professional who knew exactly what they could do and didn't need to prove it to anyone except themselves. He keyed his radio. "Move target to 1,400. Downrange, a figure appeared from the safety bunker. Pulled the target frame farther up the hillside. The distance made the target almost invisible now, just a speck against the brown earth. Kira made her adjustments. Elevation, windage. She was calculating bullet drop, Coriolis effect, air density, variables that most shooters never even considered. The math happened automatically, years of training making it instinctive. She fired. 5 seconds later, the time it took for the bullet to travel 1,400 yards, the target shuddered. Blackwood checked the spotting scope. He was quiet for a long moment. "Bullseye," he said finally. "Upper center ring." Kira safed the rifle, stood up. Her shoulder would be bruised tomorrow from the recoil, but she didn't care. "My father trained me at 1,800 yards, sir," she said. "In all weather conditions, day and night, moving targets, stationary targets, targets behind cover. This is warm-up." Blackwood turned to face her fully. His expression was unreadable. "Who else knows?" he asked quietly. "About Team 7? "Yes, just the people who need to know." "And that USB drive? The leaked intel?" "Not mine, sir. Someone planted it. Someone who wants to discredit me, discredit the team, or both." Blackwood's radio crackled. A voice cut through, urgent and breathless. "Colonel Blackwood, this is base security. We have a situation. Armory, Vault 12. Multiple intruders. Security team is engaging." Blackwood's hand went to his sidearm. "Vault 12? That's classified weapons storage." "And mission files," Kira finished. "Prototype systems, evidence." Their eyes met. "It's them," Kira said. "My team, Wraith 7. They're extracting the evidence before someone destroys it." "Evidence of what?" Kira's expression hardened. "Evidence that someone in Naval Special Warfare Command wants us dead, sir. And they're willing to kill anyone who gets in the way." Blackwood stared at her for 3 seconds. Kira could see him processing, calculating, making the same kind of tactical decision he'd made 1,000 times in combat. The kind that separated leaders from followers. The kind that meant believing your gut, even when your brain was screaming that it didn't make sense. He keyed his radio. "All units, converge on Vault 12. Non-lethal engagement only. I'm en route." He looked at Kira. "You're with me, and you better pray your team hasn't killed anyone." They ran for his vehicle, a black SUV parked at the range entrance. Blackwood drove, lights flashing. Kira sat in the passenger seat, checking her sidearm. A Sig Sauer M18, standard Marine Corps issue, 15 rounds of 9mm hollow point. "Sir," she said as Blackwood weaved between slower vehicles, "I need you to understand something. Whatever's happening at that vault, my team isn't the enemy. We're trying to stop one." "You better be right, Gunnery Sergeant." Blackwood's hands were white on the wheel. "Because if you're wrong, you're going to Leavenworth for the rest of your life." The SUV screamed across the base. In the distance, Kira could hear sirens, see flashing lights converging on the armory complex, like sharks drawn to blood in the water. Her heart was pounding, but not from fear, from anticipation. Her team was in there. The women she'd trained with, fought beside. They'd saved each other's lives 12 times over. And now, finally, after years in the shadows, they were about to step into the light. Blackwood slammed the brakes. They were outside Vault 12, a fortified bunker set into a hillside. Security personnel were everywhere. At least 20 armed sailors and Marines, taking cover behind vehicles, weapons drawn. And standing in the vault's entrance, hands raised but faces calm, were 4 women. Kira recognized them instantly. Corporal Sloane Garrett, 29 years old, 5'6", built like a middleweight boxer. Her specialty was close-quarters battle. Kira had seen her clear a room of 6 hostiles in under 10 seconds. Lieutenant Fiona McLeod, 31, red hair pulled back in a tactical bun. Scottish accent that got thicker when she was angry. Explosives expert. She could build a breaching charge from household materials and calculate blast radius in her head. Sergeant Kira Volkov, 28, pale blonde with cheekbones that could cut glass. Russian defector who traded intelligence for citizenship. Hand-to-hand combat specialist. Kira had sparred with her once and ended up with 2 cracked ribs. And Petty Officer, First Class Lennox Royce. 27, dark hair, sharp eyes behind tactical glasses, perpetual expression of mild annoyance. MIT dropout who'd enlisted because civilian life bored her. Signals intelligence in cyber warfare. She could hack Pentagon systems from a smartphone. They stood there surrounded by 24 weapons, looking utterly unafraid. Kira stepped out of the SUV. "Stand down!" Blackwood roared at the security team. "Nobody fires unless I give the order." Kira walked forward slowly. Hands visible, no sudden movements. "Wraith team," she said. "Status." Sloan, call sign Viper, spoke without taking her eyes off the security perimeter. "Mission accomplished, Wraith 1. Package secured. 0 casualties." "Where's the security team that was inside?" "Zip-tied in the ready room," Fiona said in her Edinburgh accent. "They're fine. Bruised egos, nothing more." Blackwood appeared at Kira's shoulder. "What the hell is this?" Lennox held up a tablet. "Colonel Blackwood, you're going to want to see this." "I'm not." "Yes, you are," Lennox interrupted. Her voice was quiet but absolute. "Because in about 30 seconds, someone is going to remote wipe these files. And once they're gone, the proof dies with them." Blackwood hesitated. Then he took the tablet. His face went pale as he read. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. Kira moved to his side, looked at the screen. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was a classified memo, dated 2 weeks ago. The header read, "Eyes Only, Naval Special Warfare Command." The signature at the bottom belonged to Vice Admiral Harrison Kessler, Deputy Commander of Naval Special Warfare. The subject line was simple: Operation Wraith Purge. And the first paragraph was even simpler. SEAL Team 7 represents an unacceptable security risk to operational integrity and must be permanently eliminated. All personnel associated with the Wraith Protocol are to be terminated with extreme prejudice. Authorization granted for unlimited resources and plausible deniability protocols. Kira's hands clenched into fists. "The Yemen mission," she said quietly. "It was a setup, a kill box. We were supposed to die there." Blackwood looked up from the tablet, looked at her, then at the 4 women standing in the vault entrance with their hands raised and their faces calm. "How many of you are there?" he asked. 8 total, Kira said. 4 deployed overseas, 4 here. "And you're saying a vice admiral, a man with 30 years of service, ordered your execution?" "Read the rest, sir," Lennox said. Blackwood scrolled down. Kira watched his expression change from shock to horror to rage. The memo detailed everything: an $800 million arms trafficking operation, sales of experimental drone technology to Saudi proxies, banned chemical weapons precursors shipped through shell companies, encrypted communication systems that had somehow ended up in the hands of militia groups in 3 different countries. And at the center of it all, Vice Admiral Harrison Kessler. Team 7 had discovered the operation accidentally during a 2023 mission in Syria. They'd been tracking a high-value target when they stumbled onto a weapons cache that shouldn't have existed. American equipment, prototype systems, things that were supposed to be locked in secure facilities, not sitting in a terrorist compound. They'd reported it through channels. 2 months later, they'd been designated for termination. "This is..." Blackwood stopped, started again. "This is treason, multiple counts. We're talking about a general court-martial, life imprisonment, or the death penalty." "Yes, sir," Kira said. "That's why we needed this evidence before it disappeared." As if on cue, the tablet in Blackwood's hand chimed. Lennox grabbed it, her fingers flying across the screen. "They're trying remote access," she said. "Sophisticated attack. Military-grade cyber warfare." Her fingers moved faster. "I'm blocking them, but they're persistent. Whoever's running this knows what they're doing." "Can you stop them?" Blackwood demanded. "I already copied everything to an off-site secure server," Lennox said calmly. "They can wipe this all they want. We have backups, multiple backups, encrypted, distributed. They're not getting rid of this evidence." Blackwood ran a hand over his face. Kira could see him processing, adjusting to a reality that had shifted under his feet like sand. "What do you need?" he asked finally. Kira blinked. "Sir? What do you need?" Each word was deliberate, measured, because if this is real, if even half of what's in this memo is real, then we have a vice admiral who's committed treason and attempted murder of federal personnel. And I'm not letting that stand. Kira felt something loosen in her chest. Hope, maybe, or just relief that someone was finally listening. "We need to move fast," she said. "Kessler will know we have the evidence soon. He'll either run or attack." "Based on his profile," Blackwood said, "which would you bet on?" Kira thought about it. A vice admiral with 30 years of service. A man who'd made it to the upper echelons of military command. Men like that didn't run. They doubled down. They fought until there was nothing left to fight with. "Attack," she said. "He'll attack." Blackwood nodded slowly. He looked at the four women again. Really looked at them this time. Not as suspects, not as criminals, but as operators. "Dismissed," he said, "and God help us all." The safe house was a warehouse on the edge of San Diego's industrial district. Concrete walls, rusted metal doors, windows so grimy they were nearly opaque. From the outside it looked abandoned, just another forgotten building in a neighborhood full of them. Inside it was a tactical operations center. Kira pushed through the side entrance, her team following. The main floor opened into a vast space lit by LED work lights hanging from the rafters. In the center, a dozen folding tables had been arranged into a makeshift command post. Laptops, monitors, tactical maps spread across every surface. A weapons rack stood against the far wall, stocked with enough firepower to equip a small army. And standing near the weapons, waiting, were three more women. Captain Wynne Ashford stepped forward first. 34 years old, former Army aviator who'd flown Black Hawks in Afghanistan before a training accident destroyed her left knee. She'd washed out of flight status, spent 2 years in physical therapy, and somehow convinced Garrett Sullivan to give her a second chance. Now she was Team 7's tactical coordinator, the one who turned chaotic combat into choreographed precision. Next came Lieutenant Morgan Thorne, 29, blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, ice blue eyes that never seemed to blink. Navy intel specialist who'd spent 3 years at NSA before requesting transfer to field operations. Her specialty was psychological operations and interrogation. Kira had seen Morgan break a Taliban commander in 40 minutes using nothing but conversation. The third woman was the youngest, Ensign Rachel Donnelly, 25, barely 5 feet tall, with a runner's build and nervous energy that never stopped. Demolitions and chemical weapons specialist. She'd earned her call sign Smoke during training when she created a smoke grenade that burned for 20 minutes instead of the standard 2. Wynne crossed her arms. "Status. Compromised," Kira said flatly. "Kessler knows we're alive, knows we have the evidence, and knows we're coming." The room went silent. Morgan spoke next, her voice calm. "Timeline? 16 hours until we move on his compound. Maybe less if he decides to run." Lennox was already at the computers, fingers flying across keyboards. Running trace algorithms on Kessler's digital footprint now. Bank accounts, phone records, travel arrangements. If he tries to rabbit, we'll know. Kira moved to the center table where a satellite image of the Monterey Peninsula was spread out. Someone had marked it with red circles and annotations. "Kessler's estate," Wynne said, joining her. 3 acres, clifftop property. Main house is 6,200 square feet. Guest house, security barracks, vehicle garage, total of 11 structures. "Security?" Kira asked. "Private contractor force, 25 personnel confirmed. Mix of former Blackwater, Triple Canopy, and DynCorp operators. Well-armed, well-trained. They rotate in 8-hour shifts. So at any given time, we're looking at 8 to 10 active guards. Plus sensors," Wynne continued. "Motion detectors on the perimeter. Pressure plates on the main driveway. Cameras covering every approach." She traced her finger along the coastline on the map. "Only blind spot is here. Coastal approach from the water. Too steep for vehicles, barely accessible on foot. They assume nobody's crazy enough to try it. Kira smiled grimly. Then that's where we go. Sloane joined them at the table. Climbing gear. We'll need it. 200 feet of cliff face, minimum. Probably wet. Definitely slippery. Who's current on technical climbing? Kira asked. 4 hands went up. Kira, Sloane, Fiona, and Rachel. 4 climbers, Kira said. That leaves 4 for overwatch and support. Wynn, you coordinate from here. Lennox, you're on electronic warfare. I need that security system blind and deaf. Morgan, your backup extraction if things go sideways. Kira, you're with Morgan for heavy support. Kira spoke for the first time, her Russian accent making the words sharp. I should be on primary team. I am best at close combat. Which is why I need you on extraction, Kira countered. If we get pinned down, you and Morgan punch through and get us out. Clear? Kira's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Clear. Lennox looked up from her computer. Got something. Talk to me. Kessler made 3 calls in the last hour. All encrypted, all to the same number. Took me 4 minutes to crack his encryption. She paused. That number belongs to a burner phone currently active in San Diego. Location, Kira demanded. Triangulating now. Lennox's screen filled with maps, signal strength indicators, cell tower data. Red circles appeared, overlapping, narrowing down to a single point. Got it. Naval Base San Diego, near Building 7. The room went cold. That's NCIS headquarters, Morgan said quietly. Where they interrogated you. Kira felt pieces clicking together in her mind. Kessler's calling someone near Blackwood. Or calling Blackwood, Sloane said. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Vice Admiral Kessler, desperate and cornered, reaching out to the one man who could shut down their operation with a single phone call. Offering money, offering protection, offering whatever it took to turn Colonel Marcus Blackwood from ally to enemy. Kira's phone buzzed. Everyone tensed. She pulled it out slowly. A text from Blackwood. Need to meet. Urgent. Come alone. She showed it to the team. It's a trap, Kira said immediately. Maybe, Kira said. Or maybe he's got information we need. Or maybe Kessler got to him, Lennox added. Offered him money. Threatened his family. Showed him evidence we fabricated. There are a dozen ways to flip someone. Kira thought about Blackwood at the range. The way he'd looked at her shooting. The way he'd made his decision to help them. That hadn't been an act. She'd spent enough time around operators to know real from fake. But people could change. Loyalty could be bought or broken. Fear could turn the strongest man into a coward. I'm going, she said. Not alone, Sloane said flatly. He said alone. And I said you're not going alone. Sloane's hand rested on her sidearm. We've lost enough people, Kira. I'm not losing you because you trusted the wrong person. Kira started to argue, then stopped. Sloane was right. Tactically, emotionally, right. Fine, you're with me, but stay back. Give me room to talk. 20 minutes later, Kira was driving through base housing in a borrowed sedan. Sloane sat in the back seat, concealed by tinted windows, a Glock 19 in her lap. The meeting spot was a park near the waterfront. Kids on playgrounds, families having picnics, joggers on the paths. Normal life continuing in blissful ignorance of the fact that 8 women and 1 colonel were trying to stop a vice admiral from committing mass murder. Blackwood sat on a bench facing the bay. He wore civilian clothes, jeans and a polo shirt, but his posture was pure military. Straight spine, alert eyes, hands visible. Kira approached slowly, sat down beside him, leaving 2 feet of space between them. Sir, she said, gunnery sergeant. Blackwood didn't look at her. He stared out at the water where a carrier was moving toward the horizon, massive and gray and unstoppable. I did some checking, he said, made some calls, discreet ones. He paused. Your father was who you said he was, Reaper Sullivan, one of the best SEALs I ever served with. Blackwood's voice was quiet, almost lost under the sound of children laughing on the playground behind them. I was there when he died. November 2019, Syria. At least, that's what the official report says. Kira's heart stuttered. You were there? Not there. I was stateside. But I got the notification, saw the flag-draped coffin come home, attended the memorial service at Fort Rosecrans. He finally turned to look at her. Except now I'm not so sure that was him in that coffin. Why not? Because I pulled his service record, and there are gaps, holes, missions that happen but don't have after-action reports, deployments to places we officially weren't operating. He handed her a folder. Kira opened it. Inside was a photograph, grainy and time-stamped. It showed her father, unmistakably him, even with the beard and the weight loss, talking to someone in what looked like a Middle Eastern marketplace. The date stamp read, March 2021, 16 months after he'd supposedly died. Kira's hands trembled. Where did you get this? CIA liaison officer, friend of mine. He was going through old surveillance footage from Yemen and saw this. Thought it was interesting. Sent it to me. Blackwood paused. That's your father, isn't it? Yes. So he's alive. I don't know, maybe. This could be old footage with a wrong date stamp. Could be a look-alike. Could be... It's him, Blackwood said with certainty. I know Reaper's walk, his posture, the way he carries himself. That's him. Kira closed the folder. Her mind was racing. If her father was alive, if he'd faked his death, that changed everything. But why? Why disappear? Why let her believe he was dead for 6 years? There's more, Blackwood said. I pulled records on Team 7, or tried to. There's nothing. No budget line, no personnel files, no operational history. It's like the team doesn't exist. It doesn't, officially. Right, but someone had to fund it. Someone had to provide equipment, training facilities, ammunition. Black budgets don't appear out of thin air. He looked at her directly. Who authorized Team 7? Kira hesitated. This was the question she'd been dreading, the one she didn't have an answer to. I don't know, she said finally. My father never told me. He said it was need to know, and I didn't need to know. But you must have theories. CIA, JSOC, maybe NSA, someone high enough to hide the money, low enough to stay off the radar. Kira shook her head. Does it matter? Team 7 exists. We've completed 18 missions in the last 4 years. Hostage rescues, intelligence gathering, direct action, all successful until Yemen. Blackwood was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. Kessler called me 2 hours ago. Kira's hand drifted toward her concealed sidearm. He knows you have the evidence, Blackwood continued. He knows you're planning something, and he made me an offer. What kind of offer? The kind that comes with a numbered account in the Caymans and a promise that I'll never have to work again. Blackwood's laugh was bitter. $20 million. That's what my silence is worth, apparently. What did you tell him? I told him I'd think about it. Blackwood met her eyes. And then I started wondering, if Kessler's willing to pay $20 million to flip me, what's he willing to pay to flip someone else? Someone on your team, maybe? The implication was clear and terrifying. My team is solid, Kira said. Your team is 7 women who've been operating in the shadows for years, taking orders from a dead man, risking their lives for missions that officially don't exist. No recognition, no credit, no backup if things go wrong. Blackwood leaned forward. That's a lot of stress, Gunnery Sergeant, a lot of resentment, and resentment makes people vulnerable. Kira wanted to argue, wanted to defend her team, their loyalty, their bond. But Blackwood wasn't wrong. She'd seen good operators turn bad under less pressure than what Team 7 had endured. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because I want you to be careful. Because I've seen good people make bad choices when the pressure gets too high. He stood up. And because if you're going after Kessler tonight, I want you to succeed. Not just for you, for Reaper, for every operator who ever trusted the system to have their back. He started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. That USB drive in your locker? I didn't plant it. Kira stood quickly. Sir, I know what you thought. I arranged for a drive to be placed there as a test, like I said. But when NCIS brought me the evidence, I checked the serial number. His face was grim. Different drive, different data. Someone else planted that USB. Someone who wanted you arrested, discredited, or dead. Who? I don't know. But whoever it is, they have access to secure facilities and your personal locker combination. Blackwood met her eyes one last time. Watch your back, gunnery sergeant. Trust your team, but verify everything. He walked away, disappearing into the normal afternoon crowd of sailors and families and people who had no idea that the world was balanced on a knife's edge. Kira sat back down, processing. Sloan emerged from the car, crossed to the bench. Well, he says there might be a traitor, maybe on our team. Fuck. Maybe. Or maybe he's trying to divide us, make us paranoid. Kira rubbed her face. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe in what you can verify, Sloan said. We've got evidence on Kessler. We've got a mission. Focus on that. As they drove back to the warehouse, Kira couldn't shake Blackwood's warning. Trust your team, but verify everything. The warehouse felt different when they returned. The easy camaraderie had shifted into something tenser. Wynne was arguing with Morgan about extraction routes. Kira was cleaning her weapons with aggressive precision. Rachel sat alone, staring at her laptop. Kira gathered everyone at the center table. Update, she said. Blackwood met with me. Kessler tried to bribe him. $20 million to keep quiet. Whistles around the room. Blackwood declined, Kira continued, but he warned me that Kessler might try the same approach with us. Divide and conquer. Flip someone on the inside. That's not happening, Wynne said immediately. I know, but we need to be aware. Stay sharp. Watch for anything unusual. Kira looked at each of them. We've trained together, fought together. We trust each other. But that trust has to be earned every day. Understood? Nods around the room. Lennox spoke up. I've been monitoring Kessler's communications. He's locked down hard, using military-grade encryption, rotating burner phones, dead drops for physical messages. She brought up an image on the main monitor. But I did catch something interesting. The screen showed a bank statement, heavily redacted but still readable. Offshore account registered to a shell corporation in the Seychelles. In the last 6 months, this account has received wire transfers totaling $847 million. Morgan leaned closer. From where? Multiple sources. Defense contractors, foreign governments, private buyers, all routed through intermediaries, all technically legal if you squint hard enough. Lennox highlighted one line. But this one is interesting. $50 million from a DoD black budget account, authorized by someone with flag-level clearance. Kessler, Kira said. Probably, but here's where it gets weird. Lennox pulled up another screen. That same account made a payment 3 days ago. $10 million to a private security firm called Titan Shield Solutions. Never heard of them, Sloan said. That's because they're ghosts. Formed 6 months ago. No public contracts, no listed clients, but their corporate address is in Virginia, and their CEO is former SEAL Team 6. Kira felt cold spreading through her chest. Kessler hired private operators. Gets better, Lennox said grimly. Titan Shield has 23 employees on record. I cross-referenced with military databases. 15 are former special operations. SEALs, Delta, Rangers, Marine Recon, top-tier talent. Where are they now? Wynne demanded. That's the $10 million question. Literally. Lennox typed rapidly. I'm running searches through hotel registrations, rental car companies, credit card usage. Give me 10 minutes. While Lennox worked, Kira studied the satellite images of Kessler's compound again. 25 security personnel, Wynn had said. But if Kessler had hired Titan Shield as reinforcements, that number could double or triple. 8 women against 50 trained operators. The math wasn't good. Found them, Lennox announced. Everyone gathered around her screen. Titan's Shield booked 2 floors at a hotel in Monterey. 20 rooms. Check-in was yesterday. They're already there, Morgan said, fortifying Kessler's defenses. Kira's phone buzzed. She looked down expecting another text from Blackwood. Instead, it was an unknown number. The message was simple. You have something I want. Let's trade. Kira showed it to the team. Kessler, Kira said. Has to be, Wynn agreed. Kira typed back, trade what? The response came immediately. Your lives for my silence. Walk away now and I'll forget this ever happened. Keep pushing and I'll bury all of you. Sloan read over Kira's shoulder. He's scared. Making threats means he's desperate. Or he's buying time, Morgan countered, keeping us talking while he sets up an ambush. Kira's finger hovered over the keyboard. She could respond, negotiate, try to buy time of their own, or she could do what her father would have done. She typed, no deal, see you tonight, and hit send. The room went silent. Well, Fiona said in her Scottish accent, that's that then, no more talking. Gear up, Kira ordered. We move in 4 hours. Lennox, I need that security system mapped and ready to compromise. Fiona, prepare breaching charges and climbing gear. Sloan, weapons check on everything. Morgan, Kira, Wynn, coordinate backup extraction. Rachel, I want contingency explosives ready if we need to blow an exit. The team scattered to their tasks. Kira stood alone at the center table, staring at the satellite image. Somewhere in that compound was evidence that could bring down a vice admiral. Evidence that could expose 800 million in illegal arms sales. Evidence that might explain why her father had faked his death. And standing between her and that evidence were 50 of the most dangerous men in the world. Kira, she turned. Fiona had approached silently. You know this is probably a one-way trip, the Scottish woman said quietly. I know. And you're going anyway. Yes, Fiona nodded slowly. Your Da would be proud. He always said you had more guts than sense. Kira smiled despite herself. He said that to you? Aye, the night before he died, or the night before he pretended to die. We were on a training exercise and he was talking about you. Said you reminded him of himself at your age. Too brave, too loyal, too damn stubborn to quit even when quitting was a smart move. You were there? The night he died? Fiona's expression shifted. Something painful flickered across her face. No, I was stateside. But he called me, said he had something important to tell me. Then the line went dead, and the next day they told us he was KIA. She paused. I never got to hear what he wanted to say. Kira felt a chill. What if he knew? What if he knew someone was coming for him and he was trying to warn you? Then he failed, Fiona said bluntly. And we can't fail tonight. Too many people counting on us. She walked away, leaving Kira with her thoughts. The next 4 hours passed in controlled chaos. Equipment was checked, rechecked, and checked again. Lennox built a complete digital model of Kessler's security system, identifying every camera, every sensor, every potential point of failure. Fiona prepared enough breaching charges to blow through a bank vault. Sloan loaded magazines, tested weapons, ran combat drills until everyone's muscle memory was perfect. Kira spent the time planning contingencies, backup plans for the backup plans, exit strategies, rally points, medical procedures if someone got hit. At midnight, they gathered for final briefing. Kira stood before her team. All 8 women in full tactical gear, black uniforms, plate carriers, helmets with night vision mounts. They looked like shadows given human form. Last chance to walk away, Kira said. No judgment, no questions. This mission is unsanctioned, illegal, and probably suicidal. Anyone wants out, now's the time. Nobody moved. All right then. Kira pulled up the tactical map on the tablet. Approach by boat from the water. Fiona, Sloane, Rachel, and I make the climb. Lennox compromises security from here remotely. Wind coordinates. Morgan and Kira are backup extraction, positioned 2 miles north in a vehicle. Primary objective? Wynn asked. Kessler's safe. Should be in his study, northeast corner of the main house. Lennox's blueprints show reinforced walls, probably steel-lined. Fiona handles breaching. Once we're in, we grab everything. Hard drives, documents, whatever we can carry. Secondary objective? Morgan asked. Kessler himself. If we can take him alive, we do. He'll be more valuable as a witness. Kira paused. But if it's him or us, we choose us. Clear? 8 nods. Titan Shield operators are the wild card. We don't know how many will be active, how they're deployed, or what their rules of engagement are. Assume they're authorized to use lethal force. Assume they're better trained than regular security, and assume they won't hesitate. What about Blackwood? Kira asked. He's aware we're moving tonight, but I didn't give him specifics. If this goes wrong, I don't want him implicated. Kira looked at each of them. Questions? Rachel raised her hand. What if we find evidence that your father is alive? The question hung in the air. Kira had been avoiding thinking about it. The possibility that Garrett Sullivan hadn't died in Syria, that he'd been alive all this time, hidden, working some deep cover operation she couldn't imagine. If he's alive, Kira said slowly, then we find out why, and we bring him home. And if he's not? Sloane pressed. Then we finish what he started. Kira's voice was steel. Team 7 was his legacy. We honor that, no matter what. She checked her watch. 0100 hours. Load up. We've got a 3-hour drive to Monterey and a vice admiral to arrest. They moved as one, flowing toward the vehicles parked in the warehouse bay. 2 SUVs, both stolen earlier from a military impound lot. Untraceable, expendable. Kira paused at the door. Look back at the warehouse, the makeshift command center, the weapons racks, the laptops still glowing with tactical data. This might be the last time she saw it. Kira, Lennox called from the computer station. She had a phone in her hand, screen showing an incoming message. You need to see this. Kira jogged back, took the phone. It was another encrypted message, but this one wasn't from Kessler. The sender, ID, was just a letter. R. The message read, Titan Shield at hotel, not compound. Hit them first. Old methods, new war. Trust your training. He's waiting for you to prove you don't need him. Make him proud. Kira stared at the screen. Your father, Lennox said quietly. Maybe, or maybe Kessler's bait. The phrasing, Sloane said, reading over her shoulder. Old methods, new war. That's pure Reaper. Kira made a decision. Change of plans. We're hitting the hotel first. The hotel was a 12-story tower near the Monterey waterfront. Expensive, discreet, the kind of place that didn't ask questions about guests paying cash for multiple rooms. At 04:30 in the morning, the building was dark except for a few scattered windows where insomniacs or early risers stirred. Kira parked 2 blocks away in the shadows of a shuttered restaurant. The Pacific Ocean was a black void to her left, punctuated by the distant lights of fishing boats. Morgan pulled the second SUV into a spot across the street with clear sight lines to the hotel entrance. Positions, Kira whispered into her radio. The team dispersed like smoke. Sloane and Morgan disappeared toward the north side of the building, moving through alleys and side streets. Kira and Rachel took up positions in a parking structure across from the hotel, setting up a sniper nest with overlapping fields of fire on all the exits. Kira and Fiona approached the south fire escape. The metal ladder was cold under Kira's gloves, still damp from the ocean fog that rolled in every night. Lennox, status, Kira whispered. Wynn's voice came back, relaying from the warehouse command center. All systems green. Fire alarm ready to activate on your mark. Security cameras are showing loop footage from an hour ago. "You're ghosts." Kira looked at Fiona. The Scottish woman's face was painted with camouflage grease, her red hair hidden under a black watch cap. She held a Benelli M4 shotgun loaded with breaching rounds. "Ready?" "Aye." "Sloan, Morgan, you in position?" "North stairs ready," Sloan confirmed. Kira checked her watch. 0455. In the distance, she could hear the first sounds of the city waking up. Delivery trucks, early morning joggers, the world continuing its routine, unaware that in the next 20 minutes, 14 men were going to die. "Lennox, trigger the alarm. 30-second delay, then we move." "Alarm activated," Wynne said. "Clock's running." The fire alarm's wail cut through the night like a scream. Inside the hotel, Kira could see lights coming on, movement behind windows, people stumbling out of rooms, confused and annoyed. She counted 30 seconds. Civilians would be flooding the stairwells now, heading down and out. But Titan Shield wouldn't. They were professionals. They'd wait, assess, determine if it was a real threat or a diversion. That hesitation would cost them. "Move," Kira said. She and Fiona went up the fire escape fast, boots barely making sound on the metal steps. 5 stories in less than a minute. Kira's lungs burned from the climb, but she pushed through it. The fire door was locked from inside. Standard security measure. Fiona produced a small explosive charge, no bigger than a deck of cards. She placed it against the lock mechanism with practiced efficiency. They moved to the side. The explosion was sharp, controlled. The door blew inward, hanging off one hinge. Kira went through first, HK 416, up and ready. The hallway was empty, lit by red emergency lighting. Doors on both sides numbered in brass. The air smelled like cigarette smoke and cheap air freshener. "5th floor, south side clear," she reported. "5th floor, north side," Morgan's voice came back. "2 hostiles engaging." The suppressed cough of gunfire echoed through Kira's earpiece. She moved down the hallway, room 512. According to Lennox's intel, this was occupied by Titan Shield personnel. Kira stacked up on one side of the door, Fiona on the other. She tried the handle. Locked. Fiona used another breaching charge, smaller this time, just enough to blow the lock without bringing down the whole door frame. Boom! Kira kicked the door open, swept inside. The room was empty. Bed unmade, tactical gear scattered around, but no occupant. Either he was already awake and responding to the alarm, or he was somewhere else in the building. "Clear," she called. They moved to the next room. 514. Same procedure. Breach, enter, clear. This time, someone was home. A man in his 30s, muscular, wearing boxer shorts and reaching for a pistol on the nightstand. Former military, judging by the scars and the tattoos covering his arms. USMC globe and anchor on his shoulder. Ranger tab on his chest. A career of service that had led him here, to a hotel room in Monterey, working for a traitor. Kira's rounds caught him in the chest before he touched the weapon. 3 shots, center mass. The suppressed rifle made a sound like someone slapping a table. The man went down hard, blood spreading across the cheap carpet. 5th floor, south side, 1 hostile down, Kira reported. Her voice was steady despite the adrenaline screaming through her veins. She'd killed men before, too many to count, but it never got easier. Each one was a weight she'd carry for the rest of her life. From the north side, Morgan's voice, 2 more down, moving to 6. Kira and Fiona continued their sweep. Room 516, empty. Room 518, 1 hostile neutralized with a double tap that left him sprawled across the bathroom floor. Room 520, 2 hostiles, both eliminated in a brief, brutal exchange of gunfire that left Kira's ears ringing despite her hearing protection. By the time they reached the stairwell to the 6th floor, Kira's magazine was half empty and her heart was hammering against her ribs. 5th floor secure, she reported. 4 hostiles down on south side. 6 down on north side, Morgan confirmed, moving to 6. The sixth floor was different. The moment Kira opened the stairwell door, she knew they'd lost the element of surprise. The hallway was darker, emergency lighting shot out, and at the far end, muzzle flashes strobed in the darkness as automatic weapons fire tore through the walls. She dropped flat, dragging Fiona down with her. Bullets chewed through the doorframe above their heads, sending splinters of wood and concrete dust raining down. "Contact, 6th floor south side," Kira gasped into her radio. Multiple hostiles with automatic weapons. She low-crawled forward, staying below the line of fire. Return fire blind, just enough to make the shooters take cover. Her hand found a flashbang on her vest. She pulled the pin, counted 2 seconds, threw it. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. White light and sound waves that could rupture eardrums. Kira was up and moving before the echo faded. 3 men in the hallway, disoriented from the flashbang. The first one was trying to bring his rifle up, eyes squinted against the afterimage. Kira engaged him with a double tap to the chest. He folded like a puppet with cut strings. Fiona took the second with her shotgun. The blast at close range nearly cut him in half. He went down screaming, a sound that died in a wet gurgle. The third man got his rifle up. Kira felt the bullet crack past her head, so close she felt the heat of its passage. She dove sideways, fired from the ground, caught him in the leg. He went down screaming. Fiona finished him with a point-blank shot that painted the wall red. "South side, 3 more down," Kira gasped. Her hands were shaking now, not from fear but from the pure physical strain of close-quarters combat. Her muscles were burning, her lungs screaming for air. "North side, same," Sloan reported. "These guys were ready. They knew we were coming." The mole. Someone had warned them. But there was no time to think about that now. No time for anything except the next room, the next threat, the next potential bullet with her name on it. Kira and Fiona cleared the rest of the south side. 2 more rooms, 2 more firefights. By the time they reached the end of the hallway, Kira had burns on her hands from hot barrel changes, and her ears were completely shot. She could barely hear her own breathing over the ringing. "6th floor, south side clear," she reported. "Total count, 10 hostiles eliminated." "North side clear," Sloan confirmed. 4 more down. 14 Titan Shield operators all dead. Kira felt sick. This wasn't combat. This was slaughter. These men had been soldiers once, serving their country. Now they were corpses in a hotel hallway because they'd taken dirty money from the wrong admiral. She found a wallet on one of the bodies, flipped it open. Staff Sergeant Willem Doherty, USMC, retired. Inside was a photo. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, blonde hair and pigtails, holding a stuffed animal. On the back, someone had written, "Stay strong, Daddy. Love, Emma." Kira closed the wallet, put it back in the dead man's pocket. Good man, bad choice. How many more will die because desperate veterans have no support system? Her father's voice in her head again. He'd fought for 20 years to fix the VA, to get better medical care for wounded warriors, to make sure that men who'd given everything for their country didn't end up broke and desperate and willing to work for traitors just to pay for their daughter's chemotherapy. "Exfil," Kira ordered. "Everyone out, now." They moved fast back down the fire escapes. Behind them, the hotel was chaos. Fire alarms still wailing, emergency lights flashing, and 14 bodies cooling in the upper floors. Police sirens in the distance, getting closer. The team converged on the vehicles. Kira did a quick head count. Everyone accounted for. Sloan had a graze on her arm, blood soaking through her sleeve. Morgan's face was splattered with blood that wasn't hers. Rachel looked like she was going to be sick, but they were alive. "Go," Kira ordered. Wind drove. Kira sat in the passenger seat, watching the hotel recede in the side mirror. She could see emergency vehicles arriving. Police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. They'd find the bodies soon. The investigation would be massive. But by then, Team 7 would be gone. When, Have Lennox scrub everything, Kira said. Camera footage, electronic records, keycard logs. Make it look like we were never there. Already done, Wynne said. She looked pale. Kira, Lennox thinks she made a mistake. What kind of mistake? The room count. She said 18 rooms were occupied, but she only checked keycard access. She didn't verify how many people were in each room. How many did we actually kill? 14 at the hotel, but Titan Shield's roster shows 23 employees total. Kira felt cold settle in her stomach. Where are the other 9? Unknown. They're not at the hotel. They're not at Kessler's compound according to thermal imaging. They're just gone. Sloan leaned forward from the back seat. Could they be the mole's backup, waiting somewhere to ambush us? Or they could be protecting something else, Morgan suggested. Something we don't know about. Kira's phone buzzed. She looked down, expecting another encrypted message from her father. Instead, it was the unknown number. Kessler. The message read, "You just killed 14 men, former soldiers, heroes. Was it worth it?" Kira stared at the message. Then she typed back, "They chose their side. I chose mine. Where are you?" The response came immediately. "Closer than you think, and I have something you want." A photo loaded. Kira's breath caught. It showed a woman, blonde hair, ice blue eyes, sitting across from Vice Admiral Kessler in what looked like a restaurant. 3 days ago, according to the timestamp, Lieutenant Morgan Thorne. The text continued, "Your XO has been working for me for 6 months. Team 7 dies tonight at the compound. Come try to stop it." Kira turned slowly in her seat, looked at Morgan in the back. Morgan's face showed nothing. No surprise, no guilt, just that same ice blue stare that Kira had seen 100 times before. "Kira," Morgan said quietly, "let me explain. You betrayed us. I'm trying to save you." Kira's hand moved to her sidearm. Sloan and Fiona did the same, weapons appearing like magic. "Don't," Kira said. Her voice was cold enough to freeze blood. "Don't you dare say you're saving us." "Team 7 is illegal," Morgan said, each word precise, measured. "Your father violated every regulation in the UCMJ creating it. Article 92. Operating without congressional oversight, conducting unsanctioned killings on foreign soil. We saved lives by breaking the law, by becoming exactly what we're supposed to fight against. Operators with no accountability, no oversight, no rules." Morgan leaned forward. "I reported you to Kessler because he promised to shut this down through proper channels. Courts-martial, not assassinations. Legal process, not black bag operations. And you believed him?" Kira's voice was pure contempt. "I verified it. He showed me congressional testimony, plans for oversight committees, a path to legitimize female operators through official channels, not through illegal shadow programs. He lied to you." "Did he?" Morgan's eyes were hard. "Or did you lie to yourself that what we're doing is justified? We've killed 63 people in 4 years, Kira. 63. Without trials, without due process, just your father's word that they deserved it." The SUV was silent except for the hum of the engine and the rush of wind past the windows. "Where are the other 9 Titan Shield operators?" Kira asked. "I don't know. Kessler didn't tell me." "Convenient. It's the truth. He compartmentalized everything. I gave him our tactical plans. He gave me promises about congressional oversight. That's all." Kira studied Morgan's face, looking for tells, for micro-expressions, for any sign that she was lying. But Morgan had been trained by the NSA. She could pass a polygraph while reciting fabricated intelligence. Reading her was impossible. "Wynne," Kira said, "pull over." "Kira, pull over, now." The SUV stopped on a deserted stretch of highway. Ocean on one side, hills on the other. No witnesses, no cameras. Just 7 women and a decision that would define everything that came after. Kira got out, walked around to Morgan's door, opened it. Out. Morgan stepped out slowly. Her hands stayed visible. No sudden movements. You have two choices, Kira said. Option one, you come with us to Kessler's compound. You help us finish this. And afterward, you face a court-martial for treason. And option two, you walk away. Right now. Disappear. We never see you again. Morgan's eyes widened slightly. The first crack in her facade. You're giving me an out? My father taught me that good people can make bad choices. That loyalty sometimes means knowing when to let someone go. Kira paused. But if I ever see you again, Morgan, I will kill you. Not arrest you. Not report you. Kill you. Are we clear? Morgan nodded slowly. For what it's worth, she said quietly, I really did think I was protecting you. Protecting the core from what Team 7 represents. I know. That's why you're still breathing. Morgan turned to walk away. Stopped. Looked back. The 9 missing operators. Kessler said something about insurance. About making sure that even if the compound fell, he'd have leverage. I think they're guarding something. Or someone. Who? I don't know. But he was obsessed with Yemen. With the asset you extracted. He kept asking about the debrief. About what the asset told you. Kira's mind raced. The CIA asset from 2 nights ago. The thin man with the bloodied face who'd cried in Arabic all the way to the extraction point. What had he known? What had he told them during the debrief? Nothing. She'd been separated immediately, spent 6 hours saying, I was never in Yemen, over and over until the words lost meaning. But someone had debriefed him. Someone knew what he'd said. Go, Kira told Morgan, before I change my mind. Morgan walked away into the darkness. Within 30 seconds, she disappeared into the hills. Kira got back in the SUV. That was a mistake, Sloan said. Maybe, but it was the right mistake. There's no such thing. Then I'll live with the consequences. Kira pulled out her phone, opened a secure messaging app, typed, 9 operators missing. Morgan says their insurance. Guarding something related to Yemen asset. Any intel? She sent it to Blackwood. The response came back in less than a minute. Yemen asset was extracted to Camp Pendleton. Disappeared from custody 6 hours ago. Nobody knows where he is. Kira's blood ran cold. Kessler has the asset, she said. That's his insurance. If we come for him, he kills the one person who can testify about the arms trafficking. So what do? Fiona asked. We go get him back. We don't even know where he is. Yes, we do. Lennox's voice came through the radio. She'd been listening to everything. I've been tracking Kessler's financial transactions. Her father had taught her that in impossible situations, you didn't choose between bad options. You created a third option. We split up, she said. Sloan, you take Fiona and Rachel. Hit the airfield. Secure the asset. Kira and I go to the compound. 2-person team. Fast and quiet. That's suicide, Wynn said. It's tactical. Small footprint. Less chance of detection. We're not there to fight. We're there to grab the evidence and get out. And Kessler? If I see him, I'll take him. If I don't, we at least get the hard drives and documents. Kira looked at the remaining team members through the rearview mirror. This is the moment. This is what my father trained us for. Operating independently, making command decisions in the field, trusting each other to execute without oversight. She paused. I'm not ordering anyone. I'm asking. Will you trust me? One by one, they nodded. Then let's finish this. The coastal approach to Kessler's compound was exactly as brutal as the satellite imagery had suggested. 200 feet of wet cliff face, rocks slick with ocean spray, handholds that crumbled under weight. Kira and Kira climbed in silence, using ascenders and rope, moving like spiders up the vertical surface. The Pacific Ocean crashed against the rocks below them, loud enough to mask any sound they made. Kira's shoulders burned from the effort. Her fingers were numb from gripping wet rock. But she pushed through it, focusing on the next handhold, the next foothold, the rhythmic process of ascent that didn't leave room for fear. Halfway up, Kira's rope slipped. The Russian woman caught herself on a ledge, but her shoulder twisted at an angle that made Kira wince even from 20 feet away. "You good?" Kira whispered. "Da, keep moving." They reached the top 40 minutes later, pulled themselves over the edge onto manicured grass that felt surreal after the violence of the climb. Kira lay flat, catching her breath. Beside her, Kira rotated her shoulder, testing the joint. "How bad?" Kira asked. "I can fight. Maybe not my best, but I can fight." "Good enough." They moved across the grounds in a low crouch. 6 guards on patrol, just like Wynn's intelligence had predicted. Kira eliminated them silently. Suppressed pistols, close-range headshots, bodies dragged into shadows. Professional, efficient, the kind of work that didn't make the news because nobody ever found out it happened. The main house loomed ahead, glass and steel, all modernist angles and expensive architecture. Through the windows, Kira could see lights on in the basement. Movement. "Ground floor clear," she whispered into her radio. Sloane's voice came back. "Airfield secured. We have the asset. He's alive but drugged. Says Kessler has dead man switches, multiple insurance policies." "Copy. Stand by for exfil." Kira moved to the basement entrance. A security door, electronically locked. Kira pulled a bypass device from her kit, clipped it to the lock mechanism. 10 seconds later, the door clicked open. They descended stairs into a large room. Computer servers along one wall, file cabinets, a desk with multiple monitors. And sitting in a leather chair, waiting like he'd expected them all along, was Vice Admiral Harrison Kessler. He was 61, but he looked older. Gray hair, weathered face, the bearing of a man who'd spent 30 years commanding others. He wore a polo shirt and khakis, casual, like he was expecting guests for drinks, not a tactical assault. "Gunnery Sergeant Sullivan," he said pleasantly. "You came alone." "Well, almost alone." His eyes flicked to Kira. "I expected more of you, the entire team perhaps. But I suppose your XO's intelligence was accurate after all." "Morgan told you we'd split up," Kira said. "She told me everything. Your tactical preferences, your command structure, how you'd react under pressure." Kessler gestured to a monitor. "She also told me about your father." The monitor showed grainy surveillance footage. A man in Middle Eastern clothing, beard gray, walking through a marketplace. The timestamp read, "Today, 4 hours ago. Garrett Sullivan, alive, in Syria." "He's been hunting me for 6 years," Kessler said. "Ever since he faked his death and went underground. A ghost chasing ghosts. Rather poetic, don't you think?" Kira's hands clenched into fists. "Where is he?" "Safe, for now, along with evidence that could destroy both of us." Kessler pulled a remote from his pocket. "This compound is rigged with explosives. Every support beam, every escape route. I press this button and we all die. The evidence, your father's location, everything buried under rubble." Kira's finger moved to her trigger. "You'll die too." "I'm a dead man already," Kessler said calmly. "You killed 14 of my operators. You've compromised my operation. My accounts will be frozen by morning. I have nothing left to lose." He smiled. "But you do. You have a father to lose again." Kira shifted slightly to Kira's left, trying to get an angle on Kessler. But he saw the movement, adjusted his position. "Don't," he warned. "My thumb comes off this button, and we're all paced." "Then we're at an impasse," Kira said. "Not quite. I have a proposal. I don't negotiate with traitors. Even when the traitor has information you need, even when he's offering you a choice." Kessler leaned forward. "Your father and I served together. Fallujah, 2004. We carried wounded Marines through streets where every window had a sniper. We held memorial services for boys who'd never see 21. We bled together. And then we came home. And the VA denied my wife's cancer treatment. Called it pre-existing. She died in agony while I was deployed to Kandahar. I buried her alone because my unit was wheels up the next day. I'm sorry for your loss, Kira said, but that doesn't excuse treason. Doesn't it? I served 30 years, gave everything, and the system abandoned me when I needed it most. So I took what I was owed, $800 million, enough to ensure no other operator's family would ever suffer like mine did. You sold weapons to terrorists. I sold weapons to the highest bidder, just like Lockheed Martin, just like Raytheon, just like every defense contractor in America. The only difference is I didn't have shareholders to answer to. Kira felt her rage building, but underneath it was something else, understanding. Not agreement, but understanding. How many operators had she seen abandoned by the system? How many good men had been chewed up and spit out, left with nothing but PTSD and medical bills? My father lost people too, she said quietly. My mother, his teammates. He could have done what you did, but he didn't. No, he became a vigilante instead, creating illegal units, conducting unauthorized missions, killing people without due process. Tell me, Gunnery Sergeant, how are you different from me? We both operate outside the law. We both kill to achieve our objectives. We both justify it by claiming we serve something bigger than ourselves. The question hit like a physical blow. Because he wasn't wrong, not entirely. Team 7 had killed 63 people in 4 years. 63 human beings who'd never faced a judge or jury. Just Garrett Sullivan's judgment that they deserved to die. Where did it end? When did the operators become the thing they were fighting against? The difference, Kira said slowly, is accountability. You serve yourself. We serve something bigger. Prove it. Kessler tossed her a key. That unlocks a safety deposit box in San Diego. Inside is evidence. All of it. Names, account numbers, testimony from the Yemen asset, everything you need to expose the entire network. Not just me, all 9 corrupt flag officers your father's been hunting. What's the catch? You let me go. I get on a plane. I disappear. You never see me again. And my father? GPS coordinates to his current location. He's alive, healthy, and waiting for you to prove you can finish his mission without him. Kira stared at the key. Take it, and she'd have everything. Evidence to bring down a network of corruption that had been operating for a decade. Her father's location. Justice. But Kessler would walk away. $800 million and a clean escape. I need to verify, she said. Of course. Kessler turned one of the monitors. It showed a live feed. Garrett Sullivan, sitting in a safe house somewhere, reading a book. Alive. Real. Not a recording. Kira's breath caught. 10 seconds to decide, Kessler said. Take the key, or I press the button, and we all die with our secrets. Kira looked at Kira. The Russian woman's face showed nothing. The decision was Kira's alone. She thought about her father, about everything he'd taught her, about the difference between mission and vengeance, between justice and revenge. She made her choice. No. Kessler's eyes widened. What? You heard me. No deal. Kira raised her weapon. Because my father taught me that some things are more important than survival, that integrity isn't negotiable, that we don't let traitors walk away just because they're holding hostages. She aimed at Kessler's hand, the one holding the remote. If that button's real, then we all die. If it's fake, then you die alone. Either way, you don't get to win. You're bluffing, Kessler said. Am I? Kira's finger tightened on the trigger. Kessler moved fast, dropped the remote, pulled a pistol from under the desk, brought it up toward Kira's chest. But Kira was faster. The Russian woman's knife flew across the room, burying itself in Kessler's shoulder. He screamed, pistol clattering to the floor. Kira was on him in 2 strides, kicked the weapon away, put her boot on his chest. The remote was fake, she said, just like everything else about you. Kessler laughed through the pain. blood soaking through his polo shirt from the knife wound. Smart girl. Your father trained you well. Where is he, really? Exactly where the monitor showed. Damascus Safe House, 3rd floor. He's been there for 6 months, gathering evidence on the Russian general. Kessler coughed. The key is real. The safety deposit box is real. You win, gunnery sergeant. You get everything. Except you in custody. Ah, about that. Kessler's eyes went to the window. Kira heard it a second too late. The sound of rotor blades. A helicopter descending toward the compound's helipad. Insurance policy number 2, Kessler said. The 9 missing operators. They were never guarding the asset. They were securing my exfil. Kira moved to the window, swore in Russian. Helicopter landing. 9 armed men deploying. We're pinned, Kira said into her radio. Need immediate backup. On our way, Sloane's voice came back. ETA 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Against 9 special operations veterans. Impossible odds. Kessler was still smiling, even as blood pooled beneath him. You can try to stop them. You can try to drag me to custody, but my men are better trained, better equipped, and they're not bound by rules of engagement. Or you can take the key, take the evidence, and let me bleed out here. Complete your father's mission. Expose the network. Become the operator he always wanted you to be. Footsteps on the stairs. The 9 operators were coming. Kira looked at the key in Kessler's hand, then at the computer servers full of evidence, then at the man who'd betrayed everything she believed in. The mission, or vengeance. Choose the mission, Kira. Always choose the mission. She grabbed the key, turned to Kira. Grab every hard drive you can carry. We're leaving. What about him? Kira looked at Kessler one last time. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. They ran. Up the stairs, Kira could hear boots pounding. The 9 operators were close. She and Kira burst out of the basement into the night air. Behind them, automatic weapons fire chewed through the doorframe. They sprinted across the compound grounds. The helicopter's rotor wash kicked up dust and debris. 9 men were fanning out from the landing zone, moving with the precision of Tier 1 operators. Sloane, where are you? Kira gasped into her radio. 1 minute out, Sloane's voice crackled. Get to the cliff edge. We're coming from the water. Kira saw the edge of the property, the 200-foot drop to the Pacific. Behind her, muzzle flashes lit up the darkness. Rounds cracked past her head. Jump on 3, she told Kira. Are you insane? 1, Kira kept running. 2, they hit the cliff edge at full sprint and launched into space. The fall lasted forever. Wind screaming past, ocean rushing up. Then impact, cold water like hitting concrete. Kira kicked for the surface, lungs burning. She broke through, gasping. Kira surfaced beside her, coughing. Above them, the 9 operators reached the cliff edge. Searchlights swept the water. Then Sloane's boat roared out of the darkness. Rachel manning a mounted machine gun. Suppressing fire drove the operators back from the edge. Hands grabbed Kira, hauled her into the boat. Fiona pulled Kira aboard. Hard drives? Sloane asked. Kira held up the waterproof bag. Got them. And the key. The boat accelerated, putting distance between them and the compound. Behind them, the helicopter lifted off, banking away into the night. Kessler was gone, but they had what they'd come for. Camp Pendleton, secure debriefing room. Kira sat across from the Yemen asset. The man, his name was Bashir, looked better now. Clean clothes, proper medical care, no longer terrified. Admiral Kessler, Bashir said in heavily accented English. He came to my cell at the airfield, said he would kill my family if I testified, showed me photos of my wife, my children. You're safe now, Kira said, and so is your family. We've extracted them to a secure location. Bashir nodded, tears in his eyes. The weapons. I saw everything. Drones, chemical precursors, American equipment in terrorist hands. Kessler's signature on every transfer document. Will you testify? Yes, for my family, for the truth. Kira stood, shook his hand. Thank you. Outside, Blackwood was waiting. The safety deposit box, he asked. Open this morning, everything Kessler promised. 9 corrupt flag officers, account numbers, 20 years of evidence. Kira paused. And GPS coordinates to my father's location in Damascus. Are you going after him? After the Pentagon ceremony. He's waited 6 years. He can wait 9 more months. Blackwood nodded. About the 9 operators at the compound, we found 6. 3 are still at large. And Kessler, what about him? We pulled his body from the compound basement, bled out from the knife wound. Medical examiner estimates he had maybe 10 minutes after you left. He died alone. Kira felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Just the cold certainty that justice, however imperfect, had been served. One more thing, Blackwood said. He handed her a folder. Surveillance photo from Damascus, 2 days ago. Kira opened it. The photo showed 2 people in a cafe, Garrett Sullivan and Lieutenant Morgan Thorne, sitting across from him, talking intently. Your father recruited her, Blackwood said quietly. Whatever she told Kessler, she was playing a deeper game. Your father's game. Kira stared at the photo. Morgan hadn't betrayed them. She'd been undercover the whole time, feeding Kessler false intel while working for Reaper. He could have told me, Kira said. Could he? You had to believe the betrayal was real. Had to react authentically. That's what made it work. Blackwood paused. Your father's message to you. The next mission starts tomorrow. Damascus, if you're ready. Kira closed the folder, but that would come later. First, she had a ceremony to attend. 9 months later, the Pentagon. Kira stood in full dress uniform, Navy Cross gleaming on her chest. Around her, the surviving members of Team 7, Sloan, Fiona, Kira, Lennox, Wynne, Rachel. 6 women who'd bled together, lost together, won together. Secretary of Defense Martinez stood at the podium. For too long, women in special operations have served in the shadows. Today, that changes. She gestured to the team. SEAL Team 7, the first officially recognized all-female special operations unit in United States history. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Kira's eyes scanned the crowd. In the back, wearing a civilian suit, stood a man with gray hair and a weathered face. He met her gaze, nodded once. Garrett Reaper Sullivan, alive, still operating in the shadows. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd before anyone else noticed. After the ceremony, Kira found a folded note in her pocket. She hadn't felt anyone slip it there. Professional work. She opened it. Kira, Damascus. Next week, 3rd floor, blue door. Bring your team. The real war starts now. Dad. Kira smiled, looked at her team gathered in the hallway. Women who'd proven themselves in blood and fire. Pack your bags, she said. We're going to Syria. Sloan raised an eyebrow. Official or unofficial? Kira's smile widened. Does it matter? They'd been wraiths in the shadows for 10 years. Now they were official, sanctioned, recognized. But some missions would always need operators who didn't officially exist. Some missions would always belong to ghosts.